As new details emerge in the killing of Trayvon Martin, the FBI is out in force, publicly investigating the incident. At least 4 agents in clearly marked FBI shirts went door to door at the scene today, apparently looking for potential witnesses. A Bureau official confirmed to NBC News that agents from the Tampa field office had begun their parallel investigation into the case, specifically focusing on whether Trayvon Martin's civil rights were violated when he was shot to death by George Zimmerman. The official said agents are seeking information on Zimmerman's background and whether he was racially motivated when he pursued Trayvon Martin. And we now have a fire department audio from the night of the shooting, canceling an ambulance that was en route to the scene for George Zimmerman, referred to in the audio as the second patient.
Cancel second rescue. Patient is not a gunshot. Second patient is not a gunshot.
In the audio obtained by the New York Daily News, you can hear dispatchers saying a second ambulance was not needed to go to the scene. And as you can hear, rescue workers they are also asking for a medical helicopter for Trayvon Martin.
Contact air care and have something.
We are Leyline Air Care checking the weather. Air care, they are not available due to the weather.
And in what could be one of the most important developments in the case, 2 forensic voice identification experts say the cry for help on the 911 call on the night of the shooting was not the voice of George Zimmerman. Joining me now are Tom Owen, forensics expert and chairman emeritus of the American Board of Recorded Evidence, and Ed Primeau, an audio engineer and forensics expert. First, Tom, to you. Tell me what you established and how you established it with these audio tapes.
Well, Lawrence, I attempted to do a comparison of a known voice being Zimmerman and an unknown voice being the person who was screaming. And I manipulated the tapes in such a way where I took out everyone else. In other words, the 911 controller, the background noise, anybody else, or any other noises other than the voice itself. And then I compared the two together in a biometric program called Easy Voice Biometrics, and that was able to discriminate the difference between the two and come to a conclusion of whether it was or it was not Zimmerman.
And the only thing you could achieve here, Tom, is whether or not it was Zimmerman. You don't have a way of determining whether it was Trayvon Martin. That's correct.
I had no samples of Trayvon Martin's voice to compare against.
You need to compare audio to audio. Ed Primeau, what method did you use to reach the same conclusion?
I listened to the 911 recordings, Lawrence, and I used critical listening skills that I've developed over the last 28 years of my career. And I hear completely different sounding voice tone. A voice is like a symphony. And based on my experience, I used my critical listening skills to determine what I've already declared.
So, Ed, you're using kind of an old-fashioned piano tuner's method. It's the human ear, highly tuned and highly trained for these distinctions. Tom, the tests that you've run, would they be admissible in court?
Yes, I've already testified and admitted this software and this methodology in the State versus Davalu in Connecticut, a murder trial involving a 911 call.
And Ed, what is your level of satisfaction with your finding? Are you 99% certain? Are you 70% certain?
I'm in the 90s, Lawrence. I would love to have an exact exemplar of Mr. Zimmerman's voice to be able to compare to those screams, and I could come up with some scientific evidence to prove whether it is or is not his voice at that point.
And let me go to the other controversial element of the tape of what Zimmerman's own 911 call, where he uses potentially a racial slur. Some people hear it, some people don't. Ed, first you, what do you believe he said?
Lawrence, I'm hearing it pretty clear. I've listened to it and I've walked away from it and I've went back and listened to it again, and I'm not comfortable repeating what I'm hearing, but it's got to do with the F-bomb.
Yeah, it is that racial slur, effing, and then the racial slur for black people. Tom Owen, on that point, do you have a finding on what he's saying at that point?
No, I was not asked to make any finding at that, but I will attempt to do that, and that'll come out in the near future.
Okay, and just to clarify, to going forward, would it be helpful to you to have a tape of Trayvon Martin's voice, and what kind of tape would work? Would a voicemail or something like that be usable so that you could try to use your systems for determining whether that's his voice that we're hearing crying for help?
Yes,
in cases like this.
I'm sorry.
In cases like this, Lawrence, it's okay. In cases like this, I would love to be able to review as much family archive video footage as possible and find a section of Trayvon's voice in an elevated mood, like playing a video game perhaps, or being at a party in a high spirit, or laughing or yelling across the room, because that's the type of energy that's behind the voice that's very fearful on that call and calling for help.
Tom, quickly before we go, if this case goes to trial, would you expect the defense to hire their own audio expert to make a counter case about what's on that audio tape?
Well, I think both sides are going to hire their own experts.
All right. Thank you very much for joining me tonight, Ed Primeau and Tom Owen, audio experts who've listened to those tapes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lawrence.